you know that tigers are not long-lived? In the wild, they live only 8 to 10 years. Well, in captivity, they live just over 15 years. The protagonist of this episode surpassed all its congeners and became a full-fledged long liver in the animal world. Let's take a look at it. In this episode, I'll show you the oldest tiger in the world and tell you a couple of interesting facts about it. Let's go. The oldest tiger. Here is the protagonist of the episode, or rather the female protagonist. This is a Bengal tiger living in the U.S. Tiger Creek Preserve in Tyler, Texas. Last year, she set the record for being the oldest living tiger. She's now 26 years old, but at the end of August this year, she'll turn 27. The tigress, named Bengali by local staff, entered the preserve in the year 2000 at the age of 5. At first, the wildcat was shy and hid from visitors, but after a while, she got used to her new home and started to walk unobtrusively in front of visitors. She never had any cubs. Bengali is fed several times during the day. Her favorite treat is ice cream. You definitely can't find that in the wild. Bengali also washes several times during the day and often sleeps in shady places. Since she has no offspring and she doesn't have to get food, the elderly tigress can spend all of her free time just resting, which she does. At that rate, she may well live to be 30. 26 years for a Bengal tiger is a very cool result, but compared to many other animals, Bengali's not even close to being long-lived. I suggest not limiting ourselves to this tigress and taking a look at the real old creatures from the animal world. Stay tuned to see the oldest elephant, learn about sharks that can live 500 years, and see creatures that don't age at all. Elephants. African bush elephants are the largest land animals on the planet. They reach up to 25 feet in length and grow to almost 13 feet in height, and can weigh up to 26,450 pounds. Not only are elephants the largest, but they're also among the longest living creatures in the world. African bush elephants live up to 70 years, and in captivity, they can live up to 80 years. Asian elephants, although inferior to their African congeners in terms of size, are about equal in age, but actually no, Asian elephants live even longer. This is confirmed by a female Asian elephant named Dakshayani, who's been recognized as the oldest elephant on the planet. Sadly, she passed away in 2018, but managed to set an incredible record by living as long as 88 years. In terms of land mammals, perhaps only humans can compete with elephants. Quite a few people live to be 90 years old, and those over 100 are not so few either. Still, compared to the real record breakers, neither we nor elephants can compete. Take the bowhead whale, for example. It's also known as the Greenland right whale. From the name, it's clear that it lives in the area of Greenland, although it's found in many other regions of the Northern Hemisphere. The average life expectancy of these whales in the wild is not that long, about 40 years. But among the bowhead whales, there are also many long livers which have crossed the threshold of 200 years. After studying the bowhead whale's genome, scientists found that the whale has a special mutation in the gene responsible for repairing damaged DNA, which allows it to live so long. By the way, scientists believe that 200 years is not the limit, and the bowhead whale can live up to almost 300 years. Greenland shark. This neighbor of the bowhead whale is the main contender for the title of the coolest long liver among large animals. These sharks live in the North Atlantic Ocean, and it seems they can explore every corner of their range. They have plenty of time for that because Greenland sharks live 272 years on average. This makes them the long-living record breakers among vertebrates. But that's far from the limit. In 2014, scientists found a shark in Greenland that was 514 years old at the time. Presumably, it was born in 1505. The individual was 17.7 feet long, and it was by its length that scientists calculated its age, because Greenland sharks grow about 0.3 inches a year for the rest of their lives. Just imagine this. The shark was born when Columbus had just discovered America, and in Russia, Ivan the Terrible had not even been born yet. This is very cool. Turtles. You've probably all heard that big tortoises live a long time. But did you know how long they can actually live? For example, the world-famous Floriana giant tortoises live about 100 years in the wild. In captivity, they can live up to 175 years if properly cared for. Not bad, but there's someone even cooler. It's the Aldabra giant tortoise species that lives on the island of Aldabra in the Indian Ocean. More specifically, a particular member of the species, the tortoise named Jonathan. It's hard to believe, but Jonathan is 190 years old. He was born in 1832 and doesn't seem to be going to die at all. Jonathan is recognized as the oldest tortoise of all time. The record breaker lives on the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic Ocean, where he's looked after by the island government itself. Jonathan has lived so long that he's caught the time of the advent of the first photograph, the telephone, the light bulb, the erection of the Eiffel Tower, the creation of the airplane, the landing of the man on the moon, several world wars, the advent of the internet, and much more. I'm sure Jonathan will still be alive when we send the first expedition to Mars. Koi. Have you ever heard of koi carp? If not, they're decorative, domesticated fish bred from the Amur subspecies of carp. Koi carp is considered a fish that's passed 6 selections, after which it's assigned a certain category. These fish have a purely decorative function. They're found in artificial ponds and decorative ponds, where they simply swim and please the eye. Their coloring is beautiful, so you can admire these fish for a long time. Most importantly, a few carp can literally be enough for all your lifetime, because some koi species live more than 150 years. The female Japanese koi named Hanako has lived 226 or 227 years, which is the record among all koi. 227 years for an aquatic creature is a cool result. But I have something cooler for you. The ocean quahog. About 95% of you have never heard of it before. Trust me, it's very unusual. In general, it's a species of bivalve mollusk that lives in the waters of the Arctic and Atlantic Ocean, hence the official name of the species, Arctica islandica. In general, the mollusk is not particularly remarkable, except that it's one of the longest living creatures in history. For example, in 2006, a clam washed up on the northern coast of Iceland, which was later named Ming. Why exactly that? The fact that the clam was born during the reign of the Chinese Ming dynasty, and it happened around 1499. That is, it lived 507 years and was born even earlier than the record-breaking Greenland shark. Still remember it? It's possible that Ming would have lived even longer if not for the unfortunate wave that spit it out of the sea. Giant barrel sponge. Half a thousand years is an incredibly long time, but even that's not the limit. The giant barrel sponge, Zestospongia muta, confirms it. Scientists believe this creature is capable of living 2,300 years. They found sponges in the ocean that actually were born before our era. The body of this large sponge is composed of 2 layers of covering cells and a jelly-like mesophyll between them, which filters water in search of something nutritious. Thanks to the fact that the sponge has no pests or enemies, it simply exists, takes pictures with divers, and breaks all records of longevity. In fact, it's not the only creature that does this. Sponges in general are incredibly long livers. For example, the deep-sea glass sponge, Monorhapis chuni, is even more resilient than the giant barrel sponge. A 2017 ocean composition study found that Monorhapis chuni sponges were between 5,000 and 18,000 years old. Scientists believe that there are even sponges that may be several 100 million years old. However, so far, that's only a hypothesis. In order to live thousands or even millions of years, no body functions are enough. The only way out is to not age. Surprisingly, there are a few animals in the world that really don't age. One of them is the famous American lobster. It's these arthropods that are served in luxury restaurants. Most visitors don't even know that they're not just getting some lobster on a plate, but a unique animal. Scientists have studied these lobsters and found that they don't age at all. They don't lose their appetite or their ability to reproduce. They're constantly active and full of energy, all thanks to telomeres, which are located at the end of the chromosomes and protect them and the entire body in general from wear and tear. Thanks to this, the American lobster can live long, but there are no long livers among them. They're very often hunted by predators, and they're regularly caught. 220 million pounds of lobsters are taken out of the ocean every year. Hydra. Hydra is even cooler than the American lobster. It could well be called biologically immortal. Scientists believe that lobsters are still susceptible to some diseases, while Hydra cells are virtually impenetrable. Hydras never die of old age. They're mostly eaten by predators, but in particularly rare cases, hydras can still get sick and die too. But there's a creature that can outdo the hydra, the American lobster, and all the creatures in the world. This is the jellyfish called Turritopsis dohrnii. That's how it's known in scientific circles, but everyone calls it the immortal jellyfish. That's because it really is immortal and doesn't age one bit. It's all about unusual processes. The jellyfish immortality comes in two alternating stages. The first is the polyp reproducing asexually, and the second is the jellyfish itself reproducing sexually. When a jellyfish gets into unfavorable conditions or doesn't feel well, it sinks to the bottom, its cells change, and it turns into a polyp. Polyp tolerates adverse conditions much better, so at this stage the jellyfish isn't threatened by anything but predators. Once the danger's over, a new jellyfish begins to bud off the polyp, which again begins to swim through the ocean. In the future, in case of danger, they'll settle at the bottom and become polyps, from which jellyfish will emerge again. This can continue until either the jellyfish is devoured by a predator or endlessly. This is why this jellyfish is truly immortal. That's all, guys. Would you like to become immortal, just like this cool jellyfish? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.